What's up, you guys? Thank you for tuning in to Collector Cave, and this week's review is of the Mezco 112 exclusive from the New York Comic Con 5 Ronin Wolverine figure. Now, as you can see by looking at the box here, you've got a very lovely packaging. It's really beautiful. As far as Mezco's exclusive boxes go, it's really very nice packaging. I like it a lot. This sort of glossy gray. Then you've got like the photo embossed image of the claws. The cherry blossoms in the background. You've got the side panel, Wolverine, the 5 Ronin. You've got this beautiful piece of artwork on the back, side panel, and it's basically the same size as the typical exclusive box for the conventions. Now, I took this figure out of the package, and to be honest, it is a beautiful figure. However, I did have one disappointing little thing happen, which I will show you, which is the blade broke. Look at that. 2 seconds. I had it out, 2 seconds. Put it in the sheath and it snapped right off. So you got to be really careful when you're putting the sword inside the sheath. Now, I could glue this with a little crazy glue, most likely. I don't think that there's such a big deal. But also, one thing I will notice, I will take notice of when we get to it, is the ankles. The ankles are very loose. And interestingly enough, now I've left some other pieces in the packaging. Basically, I left the post, I left the baggie, because I don't really need that. However, if you want to get the figure into a decent pose, it's very hard to work with the shoes. Now, all of the costume, it's a traditional samurai costume. Now, forgive me, I don't know the name of the clothing itself. I don't know the terminology. I'm not educated that way. So, forgive me for speaking incorrectly when referring to the shoes as shoes, because there is a specific name for them. I just don't know what they are, and frankly I don't have the time to look it up. I wanted to just get this review out because I promised you guys that I would do it. So here in the bag still we have the scarf. Now forgive me, but I'm not going to take the scarf out of the bag right now. I'll do that later, but it is wired, so you can get some nice poses with it. Wrap it around him, and it'll look really pretty. I've seen photos of it done. Nothing surprising there. Now the base is very beautiful. As you can probably see, you've got this white glossy kind of a coating there, and then here there's a matte coating, which is really nice. So you get this matte textured finish for the claws and the hands, and that blackish border that goes around it, and then you've got the glossy embossed gray. Now oddly enough, it has a peg hole here for the foot, but the foot itself, and we'll get to that, does not actually have a peg hole for the figure to stand up, which is bizarre. That's about the worst of it, to be honest. So why don't we just get right into the figure? And here he is. So what a figure this is. Now, it's a very different figure, and I'm going to just fix that camera angle in 1 second. But let's see. Now, look at that. That is a really nice figure. You can see. There we go. The head sculpt, nicely done. Now, one thing I really do love about this head sculpt is that it's a very noble, very elegant, expression. There's just something about it. You can see all the detail. The hair is great. The way they did the sideburns, the mud chops is really nice. And then he's got the bun here in the back. Let me zoom out a little bit so you guys can actually see if I can zoom in a little more. Get into focus. It's hard to see. Put my finger there. Give it something to zero in on. No, it's not doing it. Oh well. This is new for me. I usually do it on the computer. Alright, well, anyway. So, here we go. Now, as you can see, alright, as far as the articulation goes, it's everything we've come to expect from a Mezco figure. Here's the sheath. Now, the blade for the sword broke right off, unfortunately. So, that's one demerit. That was too easy to do. And I have him holding this short sword here. And forgive me once again, I forget the names of the actual blades. There's a long sword, there's a short sword. It's very specific what these things are called. I will say it's very difficult to get the sword into the sheath. You have to push it a little bit. Be careful, because obviously the blade pops right off. Now, as far as accessories, he comes with 3 pairs of complete hands and 1 single hand on his right hand, which is sort of like an open, ready pose, kind of like, I'm about to hit you kind of thing. It's pretty cool, I have to say. It's okay. Now, the head sculpt itself. Now, I'm going to take off, actually, right here. Let's see if we can get this in it, as you can see. Now, this is it's a very elegant, classy head sculpt. There's something about this is really quite beautiful. They really did an amazing job with the expression. And that's what really gets me, is that expression. Now, your head can go side to side. What I really like about the Mezco figures is you have a ball joint for the head. And this neck, the neck is this big socket in and of itself. So the neck itself is on a ball and socket joint that fits inside the upper torso, and it really moves nicely. It gives you a nice range of motion, cocks your head side to side, looks backwards, forwards, down, up. It gives you some really nice range of motion. I like that this neck joint here, that gives you extra range of motion. It really makes you do a tuck, because our heads can do that, and it's really nice that he's able to look down like that, all somber, ready, very nice. Now, the articulation for the rest of the body, he's got the butterfly joints in the shoulders. They push forward slightly, they push back slightly. You've got your typical arm articulation, raises up 90 degrees, goes a full 360 degrees around without any trouble. Now you've got your double jointed elbow. Now everybody's kind of up in arms about the double jointed elbows lately. Mezco is making some decisions, and those decisions are certain builds of characters don't need a double jointed elbow. I tend to agree. If you have the right positioning for the muscles to be able to bend and fold in the right way, you don't need it. You really don't. So, like that, you really don't need it. Also, one thing I really love about this is the arm hair. They have arm hair painted all over his body, which is awesome. Sorry about the nipples, but they're there, which is, they're there. Not bad. Now, of course, you got your usual wrist, ball and peg joint for the wrist. Very nicely done, etc., etc. Now, the torso, we have the typical torso construction. You've got the upper torso on a ball and socket joint. You've got the lower torso that's also on a ball and socket joint that fits into the hips. And then you've got your legs, which, as you can see, 90 degrees, and actually they move back quite far. They move back at about 45 degrees. And as far as the split goes, that's about how far he goes. That's pretty nice. Nice. Now, so basically, this is a typical Wolverine figure as far as the articulation goes. The ankles are really what become a bit problematic. You have some ankle pivot. I kind of feel like that socket's going to stretch and pop. But you do have some decent ankle pivot for a proper martial arts style sidekick. You can't quite get a roundhouse kick in there necessarily, but it's not bad. See, now this is where the stand would come in, because you don't have your typical pegs. So you would do a side kick for Wolverine like so, and basically, you don't really have much choice but to put him on his post for the stand. There's no peg holes in those shoes, so he can't really stand very well, which is surprising. But he does get some really great crouching poses. He can really get down and he can get low to the ground. You got your double jointed knee. So, it's really, it's a nicely done figure. The costume itself, see, can we? Yeah, you probably could. Yeah, he does a nice ground pound kind of thing, like ha, crunch up. Put that So, overall, I mean, the costume itself is beautiful. Now, one thing for sure, I really think it would be great if Mezco actually were to do, you know, some historically accurate figures. I think this is such a beautifully done job that I think that you could put this costume on a different body type, maybe, and you could do an actual samurai figure. Like, you know, not that this isn't one, but it's Wolverine, branded at least as Wolverine. But you could do, if you wanted, a samurai figure. Or you could do a Greco or Roman soldier. You could do a centurion. You could do a gladiator. You could do a ninja, like a traditional ninja. I mean, there's all kinds of potential for beautiful creative things. Now, I'm sure you guys also probably can do some incredible customs. I'm not gifted that way. I am not a customizer. I like posing. I tend to have a knack for natural poses. So for me, that comes easy, but not for everybody else. But here, let's get in a little closer to see some of the details of the costume. Now the planking for the shoes is very nice detailing. Get that chest hair. Oh, and one thing I want to show you. I think you guys are going to kick out of. He's got socks and hairy legs. His thigh, they painted it. That's right. They gave him hairy thighs. You know what that tells me, guys? What does that tell you? I don't know about you, but this body is painted. This body here has all the body hair on it. I wondered, could we have a Weapon X in our future? I mean, seriously, if you were to just make this dude naked and customize or get your old Toy Biz Weapon X outfit together, you would be able to have a 112 collective awesome Wolverine as Weapon X. So just a little idea to throw out there. Now, the other head portrait. I am not a fan of this head portrait. It looks like he's trying to fart. Thanks, bub. There we go. X farts. Anyway, yeah, I'm just not a fan of that pose. I really love this head sculpt though. So this thing I would probably put on one of the other Wolverines as an unmasked portrait. Now, I think this is just such an elegant, really beautiful head sculpt for Wolverine. Now, I love the fact that if you watch this detail, now obviously, like, I can put the swords in the belt here. I'm really disappointed that that other sword broke, but I also have a Muramasa sword, so I'm not that upset. However, I will be getting on the phone with Mezco to bitch and complain. Naturally. Also, just another little fun tidbit of information. Based on the date of this review, which is, I believe, and don't quote me on this, but October 17th, Wednesday, October 17th, all the pre-orders from the New York Comic-Con will be, according to Mezco, shipping out within the next week or so. But I'm going to do this with my Wolverine and pop on the claw. And then have him looking like that. And that, my friends and fellow collectors, is how I want him. What do you think? Well, see, that's what's annoying about the peg hole thing. Because I'm surprised that there's no peg hole there. But I guess if you kind of put that in between the foot, it can help keep things in place. But just a little trick, you hold the feet and you just kind of settle the weight of the figure, and it will eventually work its way out to stand. And you don't have to worry about it too much. I'm just moving the base. But if I move the base around like that now, it's a little bit better. So hope that is informative. Yeah, let's change it up. I'm gonna move it up a little.